Okay. So today we are going to study about the continuation, because we have seen the placenta. Now it appears as a smooth surface from the fetal aspect, and with maternal cotyledons lobulated, lobulated from the maternal surface അല്ലേ. Fetal surface smooth ആയിരിക്കും because it is covered with the amniotic sac, the amnion, and on the opposite side it is attached part. അപ്പോൾ ആ attached part എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് maternal cotyledons ആണ് അല്ലേ. അത്രയും വരെയാണ് നമ്മൾ പഠിച്ചത് ആണോ. ഇപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ എംബ്രിയോ ഡെവലപ്ഡ് ആയി ഒരു 3 month ഒക്കെ ആയിട്ടുണ്ട് അല്ലേ. സോറി, ഡെവലപ്പായിട്ട് അറൗണ്ട് ഒരു ആ ഒരു സ്റ്റേജിലാണ് നിൽക്കുന്നത്. സോ പ്ലാസെൻറ്റയുടെ the structures which are forming for the transport of materials or the nutrients and the waste products from the maternal side to the fetal side, that is named as the, what is that structure, finger like process is named as the, okay. So do you know the structure of chorionic villi now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the chorionic villi, now you can see with outer covering, which is the outermost covering,
Syncytial.
hmm?
Syncytial trophoblast.
Syncytial trophoblast. Inside that you can see cytotrophoblast. Inside that you can see the extraembryonic mesoderm with the blood vessels, isn't it? So that now today we are going to study about the placental membranes of the placenta. Okay, membranes of the placenta. So the maternal blood now in the placenta, in our നമ്മളുടെ പ്ലാസെൻറ്റയുടെ ഒരു സ്റ്റേജ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, the placenta, the maternal blood circulates through the intervillous spaces, isn't it? The maternal blood circulates within the intervillous spaces, and the fetal blood circulates through the blood vessels present inside the villi, isn't it? So that is the stage which we can see now in the position. So the space and the fetal blood vessels circulates through the blood vessels within the intervillous spaces. There is maternal blood, and within the blood vessels of the villi it contains the fetal blood, but it do not mix each other to prevent antibody reactions. Never the blood of maternal and fetal mixes. So there is a membrane which separates in between the maternal blood and the fetal blood vessels. They are named as the placental membrane. The membrane which separates, made up of the walls of the layers of the walls of the villus. The membrane that separates the maternal blood from the fetal blood vessels are the walls of the villi. The layers on the walls of the villi, they can be from fetal side. We can see there is endothelium of blood vessels, fetal blood vessels, endothelium, that is present, is blood is present inside the blood vessel, isn't it? Blood is present inside the blood vessel, so it is covered with the blood vessel wall, isn't it? So that the endothelium, first the wall of the blood vessel is the first barrier, or the first layer of the barrier, that is the endothelium which lines the fetal blood vessels, and its basement membrane, that is the first wall which separates the blood from the fetal blood from the maternal blood. Then second, the surrounding mesoderm, the extra embryonic mesoderm which surrounds the blood vessels. That is, otherwise we can name it as the connective tissue. Then cytotrophoblast. So external to that there is cytotrophoblast, and that is also cellular in nature, so that its basement membrane. Cytotrophoblast with its basement membrane. Outside that we can see the collection of cells which is syncytium. So that's syncytiotrophoblast. So four layers are there which is separating the maternal blood and the fetal blood. First, the blood vessel wall, that is endothelium of the fetal blood vessels and its basement membrane. Then the extraembryonic mesoderm that surrounds the blood vessels. Then cytotrophoblast with its basement membrane. Then syncytiotrophoblast. We know the different layers which are forming the walls of the villi, isn't it? So these walls of the villi are the barriers, or which are separating the maternal blood and the fetal blood. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So these structures together named as placental membrane or placental barrier. Placental membrane and placental barrier, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So all the interchanges between the maternal and fetal blood, like oxygen, nutrition, waste products, all the things, they takes place through this membrane only. Okay, that is through either through diffusion. We have studied in the last class, isn't it? So that is either through the simple diffusion or the facilitated diffusion with the help of carriers. So these are the major functions of the placental membrane. So the total area of the membrane, that is around, that is 4 to 14 square meters ആയിരിക്കും. The total area of absorption or total area of transmission will be 4 to 14 square meters. And the speciality is that 4 to 14 square meters എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, that is equal to the absorptive area of an intestine in an adult. That much of absorptive area is there. And in early stages of pregnancy ആണ് ഇത്രയും ഉണ്ടാവുക. When later stages ആവുമ്പോൾ it will again increases. In later part of the pregnancy, the efficiency of the membrane is increased. Like when it is in case of early stages of pregnancy, we can see the barrier formed with the syncytium, cytotrophoblast, connective tissue, endothelium. All the layers are effectively forming as the barriers. When it is coming to later stages of pregnancy, most of this cytotrophoblast that will get absorbed or degenerated, and also in case of the connective tissue, that is the extraembryonic mesoderm, that is also get absorbed, and later this will to produce or to provide the most effective transportation, the barrier will become thin. Barrier will become thin, that is only in later stages of pregnancy, not at the end of the pregnancy. Before that, in later stages of the pregnancy, we can see only syncytium and the blood vessel wall, so that in between the maternal and fetal blood only one syncytial layer can be seen, so that it will increases the permeability or the transportation, isn't it? So that is one of the important when it is coming to the later stages of pregnancy, to provide more transportation or the more provision of the nutrients, all those things, it can be seen as very thin in nature. But like in the end of the towards the end of the pregnancy, the fibroid get deposited on the membrane and it reduces its efficiency. So that is the three stages of the membrane which can be seen in the in relation with the placenta. So see the difference in thickness. So that is the speciality of the placental membrane, that is one which plays an important role in transportation of the nutrients and the waste products from maternal blood to the fetal blood. Understood how what is happening in the pregnancy, what is the role of the placental membrane, and what you mean by the placental membrane. Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now the functions of the placenta. Why the placenta is developing? Okay, in earlier stages of the pregnancy, that is up to third month before the development of the placenta, the progesterone, the normal maintenance of pregnancy by means of corpus luteum. Okay, so after the development of placenta, the placenta will produce the progesterone that will influence the maintenance of pregnancy. Okay, so the placenta, the functions, one important function is the transport of oxygen, water, electrolytes and the nutrition. Nutrition means in carbohydrates, lipids, polypeptides, amino acids, vitamins, all these are passing from maternal blood to fetal blood. Okay, so that the placenta enables transport of oxygen, water, electrolyte and the nutrients from maternal blood to the fetal blood, isn't it? A full-term fetus takes about 25 ml of oxygen per minute from maternal blood. Even a short interruption of the oxygen supply is fatal to the fetus, so that it is continuously taking place. And the placenta also provides the excretion of carbon dioxide, urea and other waste products from the fetus to the maternal blood. That is important functions. One is providing nutrition, the second one is the removal of waste products. Understood? And also in the last class I have told you there is maternal antibodies makes influence on the developing embryo, isn't it? So maternal antibodies like IgG, immunoglobulin G, gamma globulin or immunoglobulins, they reaches the fetus through the placenta, give the fetus immunity against some infections. So IgG, the immunoglobulin G, it provides provides some sort of immunity to the fetus. That is one of the important. So nutrition, waste dispersal and the antibody for the immunity. So this IgG, presence of IgG will help to prevent the diphtheria, measles, or this in case of embryo, the prevention of the diphtheria and measles, that is occurring by means of immunoglobulin presenting by maternal blood. Okay, so that is antibody function. Then barrier function. The placenta acts as a barrier and prevents many bacteria and other harmful substances which reaches from the mother to fetus. So it is well known function, the placental barrier എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. നമ്മൾ എല്ലാവരും ചെറുപ്പം മുതലേ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ളതാണ് placental barrier എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് അല്ലേ? But however, the most of the bacterial infections can be prevented by means of this placental barrier, but still, however, there are most of the viruses like poliomyelitis, measles and rubella. All these can traverses, all these can passes through the placenta, and some bacteria can pass, also can pass across it. And also in some cases of drugs taken by the mother, നമ്മൾ പറയും pregnancy ഈ drug എടുക്കാൻ പാടില്ല, ആ drug എടുക്കാൻ പാടില്ല എന്നൊക്കെ. ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിൽ ചെല്ലുമ്പോഴാണെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഡ്രഗ് എടുക്കുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് ചോദിക്കും, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഇത് അലർജി ഉണ്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആർ യു pregnant എന്നുള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ അത് എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ the drugs taken by the mother can also enter the fetal circulation and can produce congenital malformations. കുട്ടിയിൽ കൺജനിറ്റൽ അനോമലീസ് ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ ഈ ഡ്രഗ്സിന് ചിലപ്പോൾ കഴിയും. ചില കെമിക്കൽ ചേഞ്ചസ് ഉള്ള ചില കെമിക്കൽസ് ഫീറ്റസിന്റെ ബോഡിയിൽ ചെല്ലാൻ പാടില്ല. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഓൾസോ can be passed through this, crosses the placental barrier. അപ്പോൾ placental barrier complete ആയിട്ട് effective എന്ന് നമുക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല. To a certain extent it prevents the passage of viruses and the bacterial infection towards the mother. Okay, and usually maternal blood do not reaches the fetus. It is only permeability. However, the synthetic progesterone in some cases of some sort of normally progesterone estrogens ഒന്നും എന്താ പറയാ മദറിൻ്റെ ബോഡിയിൽ നിന്ന് ഫീറ്റസിൻ്റെ ബ്ലഡിലേക്ക് എത്തില്ല. പക്ഷേ അതിനകത്ത് എന്തെങ്കിലും വേരിയേഷൻസ് ഉള്ളപ്പോൾ നമ്മളത് സിന്തറ്റിക് ആയിട്ട് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്താൽ മദറിലേക്ക് അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്താൽ ഇറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ക്രോസസ് ദ പ്ലാസെന്റൽ ബാരിയർ ആൻഡ് ക്യാൻ മേക്ക് അഡ്വേഴ്സ് എഫക്റ്റ് ഓൺ ദ ഫീറ്റസ്. അപ്പോൾ പ്ലാസെന്റയിലേക്ക് ഇൻഫ്ലുവൻസ് ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഗ്രോ ചെയ്യാൻ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഫീറ്റൽ മെയിൻ്റനൻസ് ഓഫ് ദാറ്റ് പ്രഗ്നൻസി സ്റ്റേജസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് മാത്രമാണ് ഈസ്ട്രജനും പ്രൊജസ്ട്രോണിൻ്റെയും ഫംഗ്ഷൻ. അല്ലാതെ ഡയറക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് കുട്ടിയിലേക്ക് ചെന്ന് ഇൻഫ്ലുവൻസ് ഒന്നും തന്നെ ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നില്ല. അങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയാൽ ദാറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ബി മേക്ക് അഡ്വേഴ്സ് ഇഫക്റ്റ് ഇൻക്ലൂഡിങ് കാർസിനോമ ഇൻ ലേറ്റർ ലൈഫ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇതാണ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇൻ കേസ് ഓഫ് പ്ലാസെന്റൽ ബാരിയർ. ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ in some cases the placenta also have got the exchange of several substances between the maternal and the fetal blood. It keeps the bloodstream separate but thereby preventing antigenic reactions between them. But there is the presence of transportation occurs in between maternal and fetal blood. Only the exchange of materials occurs, not the mixing of blood occurs. The placenta synthesizes several hormones. These are produced in the syncytial trophoblast like progesterone, estrogen. So all these are secreted by the placenta, essential for the maintenance of pregnancy, majorly progesterone. So pregnancy after the 4th month only, the placenta maintaining the progesterone. അപ്പോൾ 4th month വരെയും കോർപ്പസ് ലൂട്ടിയം. എന്താണ് കോർപ്പസ് ലൂട്ടിയം എന്നറിയാമോ? ആഫ്റ്റർ ദ ഓവുലേഷൻ the ruptured graphene follicle will convert into the yellow pigmented corpus luteum, isn't it? Okay. So then estrogen also produced by the placenta, that is reaches the maternal blood and promote the uterine growth and development of mammary gland. അപ്പോൾ ഈസ്ട്രജനും പ്രൊജസ്ട്രോണും പ്ലാസെന്റ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന 2 ഹോർമോൺസ് ആണ്. അതിൻ്റെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇത് രണ്ടുമാണ്. ഒന്ന് മെയിൻ്റനൻസ് ഓഫ് പ്രഗ്നൻസിക്ക് വേണ്ടിയും അടുത്തത് മെറ്റേണൽ ചേഞ്ചസ് വിച്ച് ആർ ഒക്കറിംഗ് ഡ്യൂറിംഗ് ദ മെയിൻ്റനൻസ് ഓഫ് പ്രഗ്നൻസിയുമാണ്. അണ്ടർസ്റ്റുഡ്? Okay. Now one second. I will show you one thing. എന്തോ? Yes.
Number 14 present ആണ്.
Okay. One second.